The American wilderness is a cathedral of contradictions. Its beauty a hymn, its silence a requiem. Beneath the sway of ancient pines, across the cracked earth of deserts, and along rivers that carve the bones of mountains, something watches. It is not human. It is not animal. It is something older, woven into the marrow of the land, its hunger patient as stone. This is the story of 5 souls: Clara, Javier, Ethan, Maria, and Logan. Strangers bound by a shared nightmare, their lives fractured by encounters with the unseen in America's forgotten wilds. Their accounts, pieced from journals, interviews, and trembling confessions, form a tapestry of dread that defies the light of reason. Welcome to the Hollow's Whisper, where the earth breathes your name, and its voice is a shadow you cannot outrun. Clara Henshaw, a 32-year-old freelance photographer from Boise, Idaho, arrived in Wyoming's Bighorn National Forest in December 2019, seeking refuge from a life unraveled. Her divorce had stripped her of stability, leaving her a ghost in her own skin. "I needed silence," she wrote in her journal, later found by a ranger. "A place to stitch myself back together." She rented a cabin, a cedar skeleton from the 1940s, built for loggers who felled pines under the watchful eyes of the Bighorn Mountains. The cabin crouched in a clearing, 40 miles from Ten Sleep, surrounded by snow-draped pines that swallowed sound. No cell service, no internet, no neighbors, just Clara, her camera, and the endless white void. The cabin's interior was a relic, sagging floorboards that groaned underfoot, a stone fireplace blackened by decades of soot, windows that rattled like chattering teeth in the wind. Clara's journal described her first night. "The silence is a presence, heavy as the snow outside. No owls, no coyotes, just my breath, fogging the air. The firelight dances on the walls, but it feels like the shadows are watching." She spent her days photographing the forest, ice-crusted streams, branches bowed under snow, the mountain's jagged silhouette against a steel-gray sky. Her sketches, tucked between journal pages, captured the clearing's eerie symmetry, as if the pines formed a deliberate circle around the cabin. On her second night, Clara woke at 3 a.m. to a low hum, like a tuning fork struck deep beneath the earth. "It's not mechanical," she wrote. "It's alive, pulsing through the walls, through my bones." I checked outside, nothing but snow, smooth as a blank page. The hum returned nightly, growing louder, more insistent, a rhythm that seemed to sync with her heartbeat. Small disturbances followed. Her coffee mug, left on the table, was found on the floor, its handle cracked. Her boots, paired by the door, were scattered across the room, one upright, one inverted. "It's like the cabin is playing with me," she noted, her handwriting tightening. By the 4th night, Clara saw them. Shadows beyond the windows, too tall, too thin, their outlines flickering like a dying lantern. "They don't move like people," she wrote. "They glide, then stop as if they're listening. I shone my flashlight, but the beam showed nothing. The snow is untouched." She began sleeping with a kitchen knife under her pillow, though she admitted, "I don't know what good it would do." On the 5th night, she found scratches on the cabin's exterior, deep, claw-like gouges spiraling upward, vanishing into the roofline. "They're not bear or cougar," she wrote. "Too precise, like a script I can't read. Something's up there, waiting." The hum became a voice, wordless but personal, burrowing into her thoughts. "It knows my name," she wrote on her 6th night. "It's calling me outside." The tapping started tonight, nails on glass, slow, deliberate. I checked every window, but they're empty. Clara barricaded the door with the table, piling chairs against it, but the shadows grew bolder, their forms pressing closer, their flickering edges sharpening into limbs. Too many limbs, bent at angles that mocked anatomy. Her final entry, dated December 18, 2019, was a scrawl. "I can't stay. They're waiting. The hum is inside me now. If I don't leave tonight, I'll never leave." Clara vanished that night. Search teams, hampered by a blizzard, found her camera a mile from the cabin, half buried in snow. Its memory card held one image, a blurred figure, over 8 feet tall, its limbs contorted, standing just beyond the tree line, its head tilted as if studying the lens. The cabin remains abandoned, its door ajar, snow drifting across the threshold. Clara's sister, Emily, holds her journal, its pages worn from her search for answers. She was running from her pain, Emily said in 2022, but she ran into something that wouldn't let her go. In June 2020, Javier Morales, a 27-year-old ranch hand, lived in a trailer on a 10,000-acre cattle ranch in Pecos County, West Texas. The land was a crucible of heat and dust, mesquite thickets clawing at the sky, earth cracked like old leather, horizons dissolving into a red haze at dusk. Javier, a second-generation Mexican-American from Odessa, found solace in the solitude, his days spent mending fences and herding cattle under a merciless sun. "The desert's honest," he said in a 2021 interview. "It doesn't hide its dangers. Or so I thought." His nightmare began with a knock at his trailer door at 2 a.m. "I thought it was a lost hiker or a coworker," he recalled. "But when I opened the door, no one was there. Just a smell. Rotting meat mixed with ozone, like a storm gone sour." The trailer, a cramped aluminum box with peeling linoleum and a single window, offered little comfort. The knocks returned nightly, always at 2 a.m., growing louder, more insistent, rattling the door in its frame. Javier's sleep fragmented, his dreams filled with a faceless figure standing in the mesquite, its head tilted at an impossible angle. On the 4th night, he installed a trail camera, its lens trained on the trailer's perimeter. The footage showed a figure, humanoid but wrong, its movements jerky, like a marionette on frayed strings. Its face was obscured, a smear of shadow, but its head tilted unnaturally, as if studying the camera. "It didn't walk away," Javier said. "It faded, like smoke dissolving into the dark." He showed the footage to his foreman, who dismissed it as a prank, but Javier noticed the man's hands tremble as he watched. By the 7th night, Javier woke to the figure standing outside his bedroom window, its silhouette framed by moonlight. "Its eyes were too big," he said, his voice breaking. "Black holes swallowing the light. Its head was tilted so far it should have snapped." He clutched his grandfather's rosary, praying in Spanish, the beads cutting into his palm. The figure lingered, its presence a weight on his chest, until dawn broke, and it vanished. Javier fled that morning, leaving his clothes, his tools, his life on the ranch. The horror followed. In Odessa, 80 miles away, he glimpsed the figure in a crowd, its tilted head unmistakable. In San Antonio, months later, it stood across a parking lot, motionless, its eyes locked on his. "It knows my name," Javier whispered. "I hear it in the wind, calling me back." He now lives with his sister, sleeping with the lights on, the rosary never far from his hand. The trail camera footage, shared with a paranormal group, shows no signs of tampering, though skeptics call it a hoax. "You don't fake that kind of fear," Javier said, his eyes darting to the window. In July 2022, Ethan Caldwell, a 29-year-old rafting guide, led 6 tourists down Colorado's Arkansas River through Browns Canyon. Ethan, a Colorado native with a degree in environmental science, knew the river's moods. Its rapids that roared like thunder, its silences that whispered of secrets. But that day, as they approached a remote stretch, the water grew still. "No current, no sound," he told authorities. The river was holding its breath, and the air felt thick, like before a storm. The group camped on a gravel bar, the canyon walls looming like sentinels under a starless sky. Ethan's tent, pitched near the water, smelled of damp canvas and pine. He woke at 3:33 a.m. to a blinding light flooding the fabric, brighter than any flashlight. His watch, a battered Timex, froze at 3:33. Stepping outside, he saw a craft hovering above the canyon, silent, disc-shaped, its surface rippling like liquid mercury, reflecting the cliffs in distorted waves. "I couldn't move," he said. "My body was locked, but my mind was screaming, like I was drowning in my own skull." Ethan felt weightless, his feet lifting from the gravel, then darkness. His next memory was of lying on a cold, metallic surface, its edges curving upward like a shallow bowl. Figures surrounded him, tall, gray, their skin like polished stone, their eyes like obsidian mirrors, reflecting his own terrified face. "They didn't speak," he said, "but I felt their thoughts, probing my memories, my fears, like fingers in my brain." The air was sterile, heavy with a metallic tang, and a low hum vibrated through the chamber, matching the rhythm of his pulse. He woke at dawn on the riverbank, his tent gone, his group unharmed but disoriented, their memories of the night blurred. Ethan's left arm bore a faint triangular scar, 3 precise lines that itched under his skin. His watch remained frozen at 3:33. The tourists recalled nothing, but Ethan's nightmares began. Gray figures in the shadows, their voices a static hum, whispering his name in a language of clicks and drones. He quit guiding, unable to face the river's glassy surface. In 2023, he joined a UFO support group, where others described similar scars and missing time. "I'm not crazy," he said, tracing the scar, "but I'm not whole anymore." In September 2023, Maria Delgado, a 41-year-old fire lookout, began a 6-week assignment in New Mexico's Gila National Forest. Stationed in a tower 8,000 feet above a sea of ponderosa pines, Maria, a former park ranger, cherished the solitude. "The forest is my church," she wrote in her log. "The stars are my congregation." The tower, a steel skeleton with a glass-walled cabin, offered panoramic views of the Gila's rugged expanse. Canyons carved by eons, peaks dusted with early snow. Her days were spent scanning for smoke, her nights reading by lantern light, the wind singing through the pines. On her 10th day, her radio crackled with static that pulsed like a heartbeat, drowning out her check-in with bass. Footprints appeared around the tower, human-like, but with an extra toe, their edges too sharp, as if pressed into the dirt with deliberate force. "They showed up overnight," she wrote. "No one's been here. I'd have seen their tracks on the trail." She swept the forest with her binoculars, but the pines revealed nothing, their shadows pooling like ink under the midday sun. By the second week, whispers rode the wind, unintelligible but insistent, curling around the tower like smoke. Maria caught glimpses of shapes in the forest, too fast, too tall, their outlines blurring into the trees, as if the pines themselves were moving. On the 15th night, the tower's lights flickered, and the whispers became a voice. "Come down," it hissed, cold and clear, each syllable a needle in her spine. Maria barricaded the hatch with her cot, piling books against it, but footsteps climbed the stairs, heavy and deliberate, the metal ringing with each step. "They wanted me to know they were coming," she said, her voice trembling in a 2024 interview. Her final log, dated October 2nd, 2023, described a figure at the tower's base. Humanoid, its limbs elongated, its face like melted wax, featureless yet staring. "It didn't move," she wrote, "but I felt its eyes, boring into me, through me." Maria fled at dawn, her boots slipping on the dew-slick trail, the whispers chasing her through the pines. The tower was later found intact, its hatch open, the cot undisturbed. Maria, now living in Albuquerque, avoids forests, her hands shaking when she hears wind. "I hear it at night," she said, "that voice calling my name." In August 2024, Logan Mendel, a 35-year-old search and rescue officer, was dispatched to Dead Man's Hollow in Washington's Olympic National Park to find a missing hiker. The hollow, a tangle of ferns and moss-draped cedars, was named for a 1920s logging accident that claimed 5 lives. Logan, a veteran of countless rescues, knew the park's dangers: bears, cliffs, hypothermia, but the hollow felt different. "The air was wrong," he said, "thick with sulfur and decay, like something died and kept rotting." The trail led to a cave, its entrance hidden behind a curtain of ferns, the rock slick with algae. Logan's flashlight cut through the dark, revealing a shredded tarp, a backpack, and a body, mutilated, its wounds precise, like surgical cuts, the flesh parted in geometric patterns. Claw marks crisscrossed the cave walls, deep and deliberate, their edges glinting with a strange metallic sheen. A low growl echoed from deeper within, guttural and alive, vibrating through the stone. Logan's flashlight caught yellow eyes in a face like weathered bone. Angular, predatory, its mouth a jagged slash. "It knew I was there," he said. "It wanted me to see it, to know it was waiting." Logan fled, his boots sinking into the mud, the growl chasing him through the hollow. He sealed the cave with rocks, his hands bleeding from the effort. The hiker's body was never recovered, and the cave's location was omitted from official reports. Logan resigned, haunted by the growl that follows him in the dark. Claw marks appeared on his apartment walls, faint but unmistakable, their patterns matching those in the cave. "It's not over," he said, his eyes hollow. "It never will be." These 5 accounts, Clara's shadows, Javier's intruder, Ethan's abductors, Maria's whispers, Logan's creature, form a mosaic of terror across America's wilds. Each survivor faced a presence that defies explanation, their stories marked by a shared dread. The sense of being watched, the whispers that know their names, the weight of something ancient and hungry. The wilderness, in its vast indifference, holds their truths, its silence a canvas for their fear. But the question remains, what is the Hollow's whisper? A single entity, stalking the wilds, or a multitude of terrors bound by a shared malice? The survivors don't know, and neither do we. Their stories are a warning, etched in shadow. The wilds are not empty. They watch, they wait, and they remember.